Kaleidoscope Corner. My name is Melanie Maldonado, and I have my co-host here, Bijan Farouz. And today we have Craig DiVincenzo.
Hello.
He is our program director for all our facilities. And today's topic is going to be about functional behavior assessment. So in episodes 13 and 14, we talked about the functions of behavior. So today we're going to go more in depth about how we determine these functions and what we do with them. Thanks for coming, Craig.
My pleasure.
Thanks
for having me.
No problem. Can you tell me the different types of functional behavior assessments?
Sure. So the three main types of functional behavioral assessments that we would do are called indirect, direct, and then some type of experimental functional analysis.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about the indirect portion?
Sure. So indirect portions are going to usually be pretty quick, easy to administer. They're going to be things like questionnaires or screening tools or something like that, where you're indirectly getting the information. So maybe from a third party, maybe from a caregiver or a staff member, but you're not directly sort of manipulating the behavior in those circumstances.
Okay, and then for the direct portion, we kind of mentioned a little bit about it in episode 15, but can you talk about it again?
Correct. So you guys, in episode 15, I believe you guys talked about ABC data collection, and that's one type of direct measure that you would use. It's probably the most common type. There's a couple of others, scatter plots and other types of measures, where you're actually spending time observing the behavior and you're trying to see it in the natural environment, in its naturally occurring conditions, if you will.
Okay. And then you mentioned something about experimental methods.
Yeah. So basically, the third type is a functional analysis. It's considered pretty much the gold standard in terms of functional assessments. And what it does is it basically you set up conditions and you provoke, for lack of a better word, you provoke the behavior to occur, and you see under which of those conditions that you've meticulously created, under which of those conditions the behavior most likely occurs. And then that tells you which functions are likely operating on that behavior in the natural environment.
Okay, so some of those seem pretty short, some of them seem like they could be lengthy. Can you tell me the advantages of each one?
Yeah, absolutely. And typically when we do a functional assessment, you're doing some type of combination of the three, is usually what's being done. Advantages, indirects are pretty quick, they're easy to administer, they're fast, you can get interventions going pretty quickly off of indirects. Their disadvantages is they're not terribly reliable. What we think is happening isn't usually what's actually happening, and sometimes those methods can be unreliable. Directs are good because you get to see the behavior occurring in the natural environment. You can see what idiosyncratic things might be contributing to the problem behavior as well. The disadvantages there is it can take a really long time. You might have to observe somebody for a pretty significant period of time before they engage in the behavior enough times where you're able to identify those contingencies. And then again, they're also not terribly reliable. The third is definitely the most reliable and the most accurate in terms of identifying the functions of a behavior, but it requires a considerable amount of training. You need to have a behavior analyst conduct it and someone who has experience doing it and who's been trained and supervised in those types of procedures. So each has sort of got its own benefits and disadvantages, but like I said, usually when you do a functional assessment, it's some type of combination of the three.
All right, awesome. Thank you for coming in
My
and
pleasure,
talking
yes.
about this.
Please refer to your behavior analyst if you have any more questions.